Welcome to the Loyal Opposition Podcast. I'm Bernie Flowers, one of Uncle Sam's wayward children. I believe that our country's best days are still in front of us, but if those best days are to come, we need to change the direction of the country now before it's too late. I intend to talk about important topics every week in hopes of helping to improve our country and our way of life. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let's get started. Our guest for episode 21 is my friend, Scott Adam. Scott is the owner and host of Liberty Arise Media. He lives and operates from Maui, Hawaii. Scott interviewed me months ago and inspired me to start my own podcast. Since he lives in Maui, I thought it would be great to ask him what's happening in Maui and what he thinks of it. Scott, how you doing?
Doing pretty well, Bernie. Thank you so much for having me on. It's great to be with you again.
Man, that's some shirt you got on.
Thanks. It's an aloha shirt with a little firepower.
I love it. You just got married, didn't you? Tell me about that.
Yeah, back in February 23rd. My first marriage.
Congratulations.
And hopefully my last.
Amen to that. You any kids in the horizon or anything like that?
One on the horizon. Yeah. Next year around the same time.
Man, you do not waste any time.
Okay, we gotta get started.
That's how you do it, brother. That's how you do it. Did you and your family suffer any damage to the property that you have from the fires out in Hawaii? Rumors are everywhere on the subject, and since you live out there, I figured I'd better ask you.
We are super lucky and blessed to be living on the North Shore. We're on the wet side of the island, so we have, luck. We didn't suffer any damage. The closest fire to us was about 4 miles away. We do have plenty of friends and family and people we know that were involved. We still have one of our hosts on Liberty Arise Media, Tamara Mackay. She has Red Time Stories on Thursday. She's still without power and without water. They had fire all around their house, and multiple houses on their street were lost. But it's been a really tough time on this island, even though we weren't affected, firsthand by the fires. It's a really tight, small community, only under 164,000 people that live here. So everybody kind of knows each other and is related to each other or is connected in some way. And even though that we weren't, our property was spared. We definitely felt the brunt of the shock and the awe of what has happened.
Wow. I'm so sorry. Let me ask you, how do you think the fires got started?
There's so much debate about that. The main narrative that most people are saying is that it was started by downed power lines that sparked some dry grass. As of yesterday, the Maui County actually filed a lawsuit against the power company, and so that's that's what everyone's saying. We did have some really high winds that day, or between 60 and 80 miles an hour, so it was pretty intense. But we also had a ton of different fires that popped up around the island. I want to say it was close to 38 different fires that popped up that day all around the island around the same time. Some where there was no power lines. So it's hard to say exactly what started it. I know there's a lot of people out there that are saying it was a lot of different things, from direct energy weapons to arson to to the power lines. And it's hard to say, honestly. I know there was a lot of I don't really believe in coincidences, but there was a lot of very strange things that day. Like, for instance, a U.S. nuclear submarine parked directly off the harbor of Lahaina that morning, which was very interesting. The day before, there was this white really fine powder that was almost like pollen coming down, like would come down in the spring, except it was white, and it kind of covered all the cars and windshields, and it was all over the entire island that the day before. So there was a lot of very strange things, and as I said, I don't believe in coincidences, but there, it's hard to say. I don't want to dive down too many conspiracy routes. There is I am connected pretty closely to a few people from Space Force, and it is we do have Space Force headquarters here on the island, and there is there's a lot of people with a lot of technical knowledge that is very advanced here on Maui, that are connected deeply with the government, and there's something else afoot here, but we're not sure exactly 100%.
Wow. Now, the question for you: how would you rate the government's response to this crisis?
Oh man, below failing grade. I mean, this honestly, this has been an absolute complete failure from a governmental standpoint across the board. If it wasn't for the people coming together and defying the orders of the government and the police, there's no way that we would have been able to keep the lives who did survive the fire alive on the other side of the island. For 6+ days, the entire west side of the island was completely a restricted zone. If you left, you couldn't get back in. So if your house didn't burn down and you left to go get supplies, there was no way for you to get back. If you left your family to go get gas or food or water, there was no way for you to get back home. They had it completely closed off and restricted. And so in the beginning, the first day, we started taking supplies to the Red Cross and Center, which was here at the War Memorial. It's also where FEMA was set up. And we noticed that all of the supplies that were being dropped off there were literally being just put into shipping containers and then pushed off to the side, while we had people on the ground who were starving and had nothing, no food, no water, no medical supplies, and that nothing was immediately getting up to the people. So a lot of people, including an organization through my church, we started to collect all sorts of redirect, if you would, the donations to a different location, and then taking it into our own hands to get trucks up to the west side to the survivors, as well as boats and private planes. And even that we got blocked at one point by the National Guard, as well as the Maui PD that was stopping convoys of supplies getting to the people who were stuck on the other side. They even attempted to seize some boats who were bringing supplies over, and they blocked an airplane specifically that had insulin and other important medical supplies from landing on that side of the island in order to get necessary life-saving medicines to some people who were stuck inside of the restricted zone. And
Wow.
the water was shut off in the middle of the fire because the gentleman who he quoted equity. He used the term equity. It's water is not something to be used. It's something to be revered and respected and honored. And he actually denied rerouting water to the fires because of the equity. But it's very interesting, and at the same time, we have one of the most advanced and extensive tsunami siren and warning systems anywhere in the world, and the emergency manager decided not to sound the alarm, and also was unapologetic about not sounding the alarm, and now he has mysteriously stepped down and has gone into hiding after the fires. So the governmental response has been absolute joke, including our Mayor Bisson, Richard Bisson, who is a retired judge. the day after the fires, we had multiple different people who were survivors of the fire that came out and said, "Oh, we heard explosions and there was like flashes in the sky during the fires," and asked the mayor about that, and his only response is, "We have mental health services for you."
Really?
Instead of validating their experience, seeing what they saw, or discussing what they saw just basically right away, like, oh, we'll get you mental health services. You don't know what you really saw, you know. So
Crazy.
it's been absolute failure, disaster across the board.
Wow. Got another question for you. I understand that the federal government is sending $700 checks per family while we send billions to the Ukraine. Does this policy seem fair to American taxpayers?
It seems absolutely appalling. I mean, fighting a proxy war in Europe's backyard, and we're footing the bill, for there's no reason other than to cover up the corruption and the nefarious things that our current administration has been involved in over there. Um, we have people over here who they've been scraping by for generations. Native folks who've been on this island, who've owned the same land for generations and handed down to them. They scrape by every day, working to serve the tourists here on these islands, and they've just lost everything. And we offered them $700 while the FEMA employees stay in $1,500 a night hotels, that is funded by you, the taxpayer. They it's insane that we are literally taking the fire victims and putting them in tents in these terrible fold up rapid response shelters, while we have these FEMA folks staying in $1,500 a night hotels 45 minutes away from the fire. And I'm not saying that government employees don't deserve good facilities, but I mean, $1,500 a night 5-star hotels on the taxpayer's dime seems a bit insane, considering that they haven't actually been on the ground, like boots on the ground, helping. They've been basically running roadblocks, if you will, to the actual the grassroots people on the ground, the people who've really shown up for their ohana, for their families.
Wow. Another question for you. I'm hearing stories about banks and rich people pressuring fire victims to sell their land while Mr. Biden does little to help American taxpayers. What can you tell us about that?
No, absolutely. I'll tell you an interesting story, Bernie. So, uh, I talked to 3 separate property owners now, in Lahaina, and ever since the beginning of I call it the pandemic of 2020, phone calls started coming into these property owners, asking them if they were ready, trying to make huge offers to them to sell their property. And they kept getting more forceful and more forceful through 2021 and 2022. And around April or May of this year, the phone calls kind of mysteriously stopped coming in. And literally the morning after the fires weren't even out yet, and people were getting phone calls. You ready to sell now? You ready to sell now? And so, we're hearing across the board that these, whether they're opportunists or whatever you might say, we definitely have linked a few of the companies that have been making these calls to BlackRock, subsidiaries of BlackRock, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, there's definitely people moving in trying to scoop up this land. And we don't, there's a lot of talk about why the reason is, and it could be, back in January this year, our mayor and our governor were involved in a conference here on Maui about turning Maui into the first smart island, right? This would be the first AI driven smart government in 15-minute city. And it just happens that, one of the most historical towns in all of Hawaii with that actually has had the storage of the most historical artifacts, as well as the largest collection of historical documents for the Hawaiian nation, was also in Lahaina. Is just conveniently destroyed. Um, there's a lot of strangeness at foot here, and the people whose land has been destroyed, whose property has and lives have been lost, are definitely receiving a lot of pressure from mysterious powers that be, that seem to be connected to BlackRock, to get rid of their properties for pennies on the dollar of what their properties actually worth.
Absolutely crazy. Scott, you are a very well-informed person. I would like to hear whatever you want to discuss on any subject. What do you want to say to the people? The floor is yours.
Well, thanks, Bernie. I mean, since what we're facing right here in Maui seems to be in my face, in the forefront the most. I mean, the thing that is the most concerning to me and to the people on the island of Maui is the children. Where are our children? As of yesterday, or I'm sorry, as of Tuesday, a report that I got from someone with inside of the elections, the Board of Education, said that there was only about 800 of the 3,001 children accounted for as of Tuesday. An article actually just came out in the Gateway Pundit that said slightly higher amount of missing than that. There was also a private school over there that had 200 children in that private school that was destroyed. The children were sent home that morning. A lot of them were home alone, and we don't know. We're not getting answers. We're not getting answers from the mayor. We're not getting answers from the governor, and nobody's talking about how many of these 3,000 plus children that were in the schools on that side of the island are missing. And so, I mean, the thing that is on everybody's mind, that's on our hearts and our mind, is where are these children? How many of these children have been lost, and how much of absolute irresponsibility and complete negligence has these school systems and this government organization been involved with to send the children home without proper notification, and allow them to perish in these fires. Right now they're only saying 110 plus dead, or 115 dead, but we have thousands missing, over 1,000 missing, and we fear that many of them are children. We're hearing all sorts of stories from families, and we still have a media blackout on that side of the island. And there's FEMA has actually been putting out letters. It's been posted online to block out any sort of media coming from the west side of the island, any sort of video of the burn area, any sort of media, interviews and such. They're still without internet, and they've got power a lot over there. Their self-service is still down on the west side, and the only way that a lot of those guys are functioning is off of Starlink, which friends of ours from Space Force got together at least 70 Starlinks that we know of now, and have placed them around the west side. But why the secrecy? Why are you hiding? And why is this a media blackout? And where are the children? And why are you not telling us and releasing the information? It seems that a lot of this is being completely shut down. And with President Brandon being on island the other day, it was just an absolute spit in the face of the Hawaiian people. It was disgusting. And for him to show up and just talk about himself the whole time, and his loss of his Corvette, and his his breakfast nook, while we have potentially thousands of children missing, is just absolutely just horrific, horrendous,
Totally unacceptable.
and shameful.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sorry you guys are going through this. And I'm embarrassed for the fact that I worked for the federal government for so many years. And I know how this thing is supposed to go, and it's not going the way it's supposed to. But with that said, how can people get a hold of you if they need to? And tell us more about the programs that you have and how people can listen to them.
Absolutely. I'm on most platforms, Facebook and Instagram and Rumble, pill.net, Twitter, and almost everywhere. You can find me at Liberty Arise Media on Twitter, or X now it's called. I'm on Adam_Hawaii and on Twitter, and but almost everywhere else it's Liberty Arise Media or Liberty Arise. And you can email me if you'd like at libertyarise@protonmail.com.
Outstanding. Well, Scott, thanks for being on the program today. You have informed me and our audience. I think the word is mahala. Am I pronouncing it? There you go. Mahalo. There you go. Well, brother, I appreciate you. You inspired me to start this program and this podcast, and I just look forward to working with you more in the future.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure, Bernie. And I'm so glad that you're still going strong on the podcast and touching so many lives. You're an inspiration yourself, my friend.
Thank you, brother. You take care of yourself. Take care of that new wife and that baby to come.
Will do. Aloha, my friend.
Amen. Well, that's about it for now. This has been the Loyal Opposition Podcast, produced in association with Liberty Arise Media and Fallback Productions and other podcasters. I ask that you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast and to these channels. Be sure to get your copy of my new book, Black Values Matter, available on Amazon or as an ebook on Audible and Apple Books. And remember, it's okay to disagree, but if we want our country to prosper, we must insist on unity, transparency, and civility from ourselves and our fellow citizens. Thanks for listening to the Loyal Opposition Podcast. See you next week.